Today I'm going to show you a 1996 science fiction action film called Independence Day. In New Mexico, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute detects a pulsing signal over their radar on the 2nd of July. The one in charge informs their chief, and they continue to investigate the source of the movement. They guess that it's a radio signal from another world, but it seems impossible. They carry on with finding the origin, and they find out that it's coming from the moon. Radar receptions are impaired, but the government manages to trace the problem. A flying object which is 550 kilometers in diameter enters orbit around Earth. In the White House, the Secretary of Defense calls President Thomas Whitmore a visit to alarm him about the situation. A giant alien mothership is getting closer to the Earth's atmosphere as time passes by. David Levinson, an MIT-trained satellite technician, works at a cable company in New York City. During that day, their office becomes extremely busy as satellites are malfunctioning. David tries to understand the situation, but he finds it difficult to believe that big objects could approach Earth. The mothership deploys several dozen saucer-shaped spacecraft, each about 24 kilometers across. The smaller spacecraft, also known as destroyers, take positions over many of Earth's major cities, including New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Moscow. Major generals meet with the president to discuss how they can address the situation. Another soldier walks in and informs them that the ship is multiplying and is about to enter the Earth's atmosphere in the next minutes. In a faraway desert in Iraq, people sight an enormous swarm of clouds covering the massive spacecraft. Marine operators spot this and inform the U.S. government. Television channels worldwide are malfunctioning, and news channels can hardly show updates on the situation. As the spacecraft gets more exposed to the Earth, President Whitmore decides to address the nation with an emergency broadcast. Earthquakes happen all around the country, and people from different cities start to notice smoke and big chunks of clouds. The spaceship is beginning to reveal itself to the human world. It is now directly above buildings and people's homes. Panic overtakes cities. People are in complete disbelief as they see the spaceship emerging from the clouds. They all take a moment to get a glimpse of that rare or rather historical sighting. Because of this, people start running to hide or take shelter. The traffic is in complete chaos as cars start to bump against each other. Instead of fleeing their office, David gets a closer look at the spaceship on the building's rooftop. He observes it and decodes a signal with hidden satellite transmissions, which he firmly believes is a timer counting down to a coordinated attack by the aliens. Meanwhile, Captain Stephen Hiller, a Marine FA-18 pilot, is at home with his family during the event. His girlfriend's son informs him and his girlfriend about the aliens, but they brush him off. Captain Hiller finally comes outside and notices a helicopter flying over and sees the big ship floating over the city. David returns to the office and explains to his coworker that the spaceship and its destroyers position themselves in major cities to count down to a powerful attack. The aliens are using one signal to synchronize their plans, and in 6 hours, that signal will completely disappear. As his coworker panics, they watch while President Whitmore addresses the nation. David immediately calls his ex-wife, White House Communications Director Constance Spano, to warn her that she is in great danger in the White House. Constance tells David that he is just paranoid and hangs up the phone. David decides to come to Washington for Constance, with the help of his father, Julius. On the television, a man named Russell Cass, a former fighter pilot and war veteran, acts hysteric, claiming that he got abducted by aliens 10 years ago, wherein they experimented on him. Together with his children, Russell decides to leave the area that they are at to get away from danger. When David and Julius enter Washington, protesters scatter around the White House. David tries to contact Constance again to gain access to the premises. After successfully convincing her to let them in, David warns President Whitmore of the impending attack. He makes an illustration to explain the aliens' plan on their agenda on Earth. The countdown is almost over, and the government should resort to immediate courses of actions. The Air Force gets a closer look at the spaceship, causing the aliens to attack with advanced directed energy weapons. President Whitmore immediately orders large-scale evacuations of the targeted U.S. cities, but it is too late. While the president and his associates, including David and Julius, board a helicopter to safety, the countdown ends. The destroyers fire a destructive beam, causing a tremendous explosion that burns up the targeted cities. Citizens clamor and panic as they are stuck in traffic and their homes. Most of the people left behind got wiped out in the massive eruptions and died. The once vibrant places are now nothing but ashes. During the explosion, Captain Hiller's girlfriend, Jasmine, is stuck in traffic with her son, Dylan. They managed to escape by running to a small room in the tunnel. When they got out, the world left behind is a complete disaster. No signs of life are present. On the 3rd of July, the United States conducts a counterattack led by the Black Knights, a squadron of the Marine Corps. They participate in an assault on one of the destroyers, which is in Los Angeles. The squad fires their initial attack, but their weapons fail to penetrate the destroyer because force fields protect it. As the team gets closer to it, smaller attacker ships release their shields, which decimate the Black Knights and other military bases. The generals instruct the squadrons to abort the mission, as the aliens are highly in favor of the battle. Meanwhile, Captain Hiller manages to evade the attackers' guns and lures an attacker to the Grand Canyon. As his jet is about to run out of fuel, he deploys the parachute for his jet, and it drapes onto the attacker, giving it zero visibility, causing it to crash. Captain Hiller ejects from the jet and survives. He starts to approach the crashed attacker angrily and punches the alien inside it, knocking it unconscious. On board Air Force One, President Whitmore discusses with his staff ways to cope with the situation after news that the North American Aerospace Defense Command is gone. Arguing about how they should have announced an executive order to evacuate the main cities under attack, David's father suggests that the U.S. government did know about the attackers, having recorded some evidence of a previous visit to Area 51 in the Nevada desert. The president brushes him off by saying that Area 51 does not exist. However, the defense secretary tells him that it does. Captain Hiller struggles to drag the alien's body across the desert using his parachute. He sees a convoy of vehicles approaching and asks for help. These are some of the survivors of the explosion. He comes across Russell, who he asks for help. The president arrives at the research facility. The head scientist, Dr. Brackish Oken, gives him a tour. He reveals a spacecraft that they are currently researching. Dr. Oken tells them that the biochemistry of the aliens is similar to that of humans, as they can breathe the same air. They do not seem to use sound to communicate. However, the Area 51 group believes they communicate telepathically. Dr. Oken continues to show them 3 actual bodies of the aliens that are preserving in the lab. Captain Hiller arrives at Area 51 with the captured alien. Staff and soldiers rush to examine it. As the procedure to remove the outer suit from the alien begins, the living being inside it reveals. The alien regains consciousness and kills the staff inside the operating room. It manages to manipulate and use Dr. Oken's voice to communicate with the president outside the glass windows. It commands the group to release it. President Whitmore asks a question to the alien, asking if humans and their invaders can live in peace. The alien answers, "No peace." It then uses its telepathic skills to invade President Whitmore's mind, immobilizing him for a brief time. The personnel manage to shoot the alien, finally killing it, while Dr. Oken falls in a coma. While the president was immobilized, he could read the aliens' thoughts and get a hold of their plan, mainly to attack planets, kill life in it, and use its resources. He orders the bombers to deploy and strike one of the spaceships. The weapon explodes, but it fails to penetrate through the force field once again. Because of this, the president gives the order to call back the remaining bombers. First Lady Marilyn Whitmore, the president's wife, is caught up and stranded in Los Angeles with Captain Hiller's girlfriend and her son. Captain Hiller rescues and flies them to Area 51 to reunite with the rest of the team. One of the resident doctors informs the president that his wife has uncontrollable internal bleeding. He comforts her by saying that she will be fine, but not long after that, the First Lady dies. On the 4th of July, David gathers everyone and demonstrates how the attacker's shield works. He continues to activate a program on his laptop that can deactivate the attacker's shield. The bullet effectively gets through the attacker ship. David presents a plan that involves using a newly operable alien attacker to gain access to the inside of the alien mothership in space to introduce a computer virus that will disintegrate the protective force fields around the destroyers and attackers on Earth. Captain Hiller volunteers to pilot the attacker. David suggests that he accompany Hiller to upload the virus to the mothership. The Americans start to communicate the plan to military bases throughout the world using Morse code to coordinate an attack. With a lack of human resources, the commanders call for volunteer pilots to start their mission, including President Whitmore and Russell, who wants to get his revenge on the aliens. Captain Hiller and Jasmine decide to get married before he leaves for his mission. Dylan acts as their ring bearer, while Constance and David act as their witnesses. At this moment, the ex-lovers reconnect as they hold hands. Before taking off, President Whitmore gives a speech about the new Independence Day. Julius and Constance bid David goodbye. Hope and worry fill the air at the same time. Captain Hiller and David prepare to launch the attacker. As they reach the mothership, President Whitmore takes charge of the American jet fighters against the alien destroyers approaching Area 51. In the mothership, swarms of attackers surround them. Thousands of aliens seem to be planning for a complete invasion of the Earth. They get to the heart of the mothership and implant the virus successfully. The squad's supply of missiles is quickly exhausted even though the force field got broken. They manage to destroy more attackers and move forward. A war instantly begins, and people start to evacuate. The underside of the spaceship opens up as its energy weapon prepares to fire on the base. Russell radios that he has a final rocket and launches it. However, his firing mechanism jams, and he decides to sacrifice himself by piloting his aircraft into the alien weapon in a kamikaze attack. The explosion annihilates the whole spaceship, leaving the humans in victory. Back in the mothership, Captain Hiller fails to disconnect from a clamp. They smoke cigars before they fire the nuke and sincerely thank each other. The weapon penetrates to a control center navigated by an alien. Captain Hiller's ship is now free, and he furiously drives it toward the portal where they entered, narrowly escaping in the last seconds. The mothership explodes instantly. They arrive on the Earth safely, and both smoke their victory cigars. The whole team celebrates and reunites while the rest of the world exalts in joy as humans have claimed their home again.